there are several ways to go about creating a depth pass in Lightwave. I thought we could take a look at an option that gives you a lot more control than some of the other options. So first, let's start off by taking a look at what's going on with the depth pass. To do this, I'm going to go to Control F8, add image filter, and we'll just use, for right now, we'll use the render buffer view. Okay, and let's just choose depth. Close that down. Let's do a quick render. And if we come over here to depth, we'll see that the farther away that the objects get, the more white they become, the higher the value, and the closer they are, the lower the value, and it becomes more black. Now, the way the depth pass is automatically set up is the farther, the farthest object, farthest point on the object is what it's going to base this gradient, this black and white gradient off of. So if I come over to this view, we can see that probably this tip of this flat plane here, that's what is going to be farthest from the camera. Okay, so it's going to be, you can see it's kind of fading to white there. So if we take, I'm going to just slide that. If we take and move that closer, we'll get a different result. So I'm going to go ahead and do another render, come over to depth, and as we can see, because that the tip of that object is much closer, we're seeing more white in here. Now, what if you want to have that kind of control, but you don't want to move your objects can't move around in the scene, for your animation, and you want the objects to stay the same, but you want to be able to have a little more control. The setup before, let's just go back and see the original setup. I might not have the amount of detail in my depth for the truck that I want with this setup. So we can manually set it up, and it might give us a little more control. So let's go ahead and take a look at that as another option. So I'm going to go to Control F8, and we'll just uncheck buffer view, render buffer view, because we don't need that. I'm just actually going to close this down. And let's go ahead and manually set up creating a depth pass. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and change the backdrop. So Control F5, and I'm going to change the backdrop color to white. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is head over to the Volumetrics tab and turn on Fog, and we'll use the backdrop color, which was white. And then let's go to D for display options, and we're going to use OpenGL Fog, which right now is blasting everything out. So I'm going to go back to my Volumetrics tab, and I'm just going to increase the max distance so we can see a little bit more here. Okay, we're almost there, but remember that depth pass was just black and white information, and I've got all kind of color and specularity and all kind of stuff going on in this truck. So what I'm going to do is make this actually make all the objects, let's just make them black. Okay, to do that, let's go over to Object, Properties, and under the Render tab, let's choose Matte Object. And we'll do that for both layers, because I've got the ground layer and I've got the truck layer. Do a render, and as you can see, we're creating that depth pass without using one of the like render buffer view or render buffer export that pulls out those internal buffers. Okay, so this is just a straight render. We're not using any of those internal buffers, and of course we can save this off however we like. If we decide that we want to adjust this, well, we can just go back to Control F6, which is the Volumetrics tab on the effects panel, and let's just dial that down a little bit. Do another render, and we've got this. If I dial it down even more, or actually I need to dial it up. I was dialing it the wrong way. Okay, there we go. So we can start seeing it get a little darker, and I'm just going to dial it up some more. And there we go. So depending on how we want our depth pass to be, will depend on where we set the max distance. This is allowing us to not just worry about where the farthest point is on the the farthest object. We can go in and just manually create the depth pass as we need to, and then as the objects move around in the scene, our depth pass stays the same. It's the the fog is not going to change unless we want to change the fog, and then we would just set an envelope here. So this is just a quick look at an alternative way of creating a depth pass. This would be creating it manually, but you might find you have more control and it might give you the look you're after with your depth pass.